Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Board Game Specialist. I am Melanie.
And I'm Carla.
And this week we're on episode 62. And Carla's just been to Gobfest in Edmonton, Alberta. And I didn't attend Gobfest, so instead I held Gobsnack for a one-day game day at home. And during this episode, we're just going to talk about the games we've played during that weekend. Now, before we get into what we've played, Carla, tell us about how was the weekend?
It was great. I was there from Friday to Sunday, so the whole time it was open, basically, from 6 on Friday till close almost on Sunday, which was 6 o'clock. Lots of games played, lots learnt, and some old favorites that we play at conventions. And just so much to talk about. But while we were there, what were you doing on the weekend?
Yeah, so actually the Thursday before, Kayla came over and the two of us played a few games before she went to Gobfest as well. And then on Saturday, I had a few friends come over and we did a game day from 10 to 6. And we just played lots of games and it's so fun. And then you know what's good about having a game weekend at home instead of, you don't have to pack anything. All your games are there, so you don't have to try to figure out which game will I want to play. I have all of them here. And so it was a lot of fun. And we played like a variety of games, some big ones, some little ones, so it was neat. Now, I wasn't attending Gobfest, and I know Gobfest has a flea market, which I was like, and it's funny because my one friend who came over, Travis, had picked up a bunch of games for me, so he came in with a box full of board games. And Lee had been to Edmonton, and he picked up a few board games for me just before I had my Gobsnack as well. So I had a bunch of new games that, even though I didn't attend a flea market, it's almost like I did. And it's funny because I had posted a picture and our friend Sherry commented like, "You're not even here and you're getting games."
Mm-hmm.
But I scored pretty good on that front. I know you did as well. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yeah, I just got a couple, but I was selling a few. And so when we all set up, we can see everybody's game set up. So we kind of got first crack at because people are lined up outside waiting to get in. So we kind of like pop around and check out what people have. And it was awesome. I got, and it was from a friend actually. Chris, if you're out there, thanks for the great deal. I walked around and I saw Yokohama Duel, which I've been looking for. So it's a newer one out here. I think it's been out like maybe in, I'm not even sure where it's actually made, but for a while. And so he was selling it and I'm like, "Oh, how much are you selling that for?" He goes, "Oh, 15. I thought, okay. Yeah, I think it's like a $40 game. So for sure, yeah, I'll take it. Well, I got it home. I pulled it out and it's the deluxe copy.
Oh, don't you just love that?
Yeah. It's got the metal coins. He hasn't even like punched it or
wow.
He hasn't even taken the cards out of the package. Has the wooden tokens.
Oh, nice.
So the deluxe copy is a lot more than the $40 copy. He must know he had the deluxe copy, but I almost was like, oh, I wonder if he knew that this was the deluxe because it's so pretty and awesome. So I got that one. And then another one, I was walking around and I saw this, it's called Octodice. And it's just this little roll and write it's an older one. It's out of print, very hard to find. And I thought, I wonder, I think he was selling it for 15 or something, or maybe 20. And I had a little roll and write that I was selling. And I said to him, I'm like, "Do you want to just trade these?" And he kind of looks at it and he's like, because yeah, he wanted to sell, right? He didn't really want to trade. And then he's just like, "Oh, okay, let's trade." But I also don't know if he knew that was probably worth more than that. Like, it wasn't like I swindled him,
so
but
hard
I just
to find right now.
Yeah. Like, I don't even know if it's worth more. It's just, you can't find it. Right. And I love roll and writes. And then the last one that I got was another trade. And I walked around and I saw the Micro Macro City Full House. So this is the second game in that series. And I had said to him, I'm like, oh, would you want to trade for anything on my table? And he was selling that one for 20, and he picked a game I had for 10, and I'm like, oh, well, did you want to pick something else? And he's like, no, we can just trade straight across.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, oh yeah. Okay, if that's what you want to do. Like, so I got a $20 game traded for a $10 game that I was selling. So I was quite happy with that, and I was happy I didn't come home with like 20, 30, 40 games that sometimes I think I have come home with 10 games before. So, but there was no auction this time, which helped a lot, because that usually is pretty easy to grab a few off there as well.
Yeah.
So what about you? Which ones did you get on the weekend?
Okay, so I was so excited. Lee had conventions or meetings in Edmonton just that couple days before I had my weekend. So he picked up Gugong for me.
Oh, such a good game.
Which is on my top 100 or my top 50 list. I really like this game, but I didn't own it, and I only played it the one time. I just had such great memories of it. So finally I have my own copy, so I'm super excited for that. I got a copy of Ishtar, so a friend of mine picked it up and brought it over. Did
you play it yet?
Yes, I did.
Because I have my copy sitting on my shelf too.
So this was one of those $5 Rama deals, and we got to play it, me and Lee, and it's good. It was really interesting. I liked it. And then Lee swung by Princess Auto, of all places.
Oh yeah,
and he picked up God of War, the card game, for me, and then he picked up Not Alone, which is a game that I had played before. I've played it with Michael. It's one versus everybody, and you kind of crash land on a planet, and there's an alien, and he's trying to like find you, and you're trying to stay hidden. And so you kind of pick where you're going to be, and then he'll pick where he's going to look, and then kind of if you get caught and how that works out. It was really an interesting game. So Lee had picked that up, and it was like, those were surprises for me. I didn't know that they were coming, so that was great. Then Travis is a great friend with a very bad influence, and every time he comes across board game sales or stuff, because he's all over Calgary all the time, so he takes pictures and he sends them to me. He's like, hey, do you want anything? I was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll take this one, this one, this one, and this one, and this one. And they're normally like good deals and stuff. And I was like, okay, great, thanks. And then he's like, yeah, no problem. I was like, what'd you get? He's like, nothing. I was like, really? He's like, I don't have to. You buy all these. I could just play yours.
He's such a good guy. He had found a game somewhere or something, and he had messaged me. He's like, I know you're really looking for these. Are you interested in this? Like, he'll send me stuff too. And I'm like,
he's
that's so thoughtful.
He's my board game pusher for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
But so when he came over, because he came over to play that weekend, and he had brought me one key, Luna. And I bought from him Destinies Sea Sand, because me and you played Destinies with Kayla, and I loved it. So I got 2 expansions, the Sea Sand and then the Myth and Folklore. So just have way more scenarios to be able to play. I bought World Monuments, which looked really interesting with like chunky bits that you build up stuff on with. I got Gen 7. I don't know a whole lot about it, but this is a French version as well, but it was so cheap. So I was like, maybe I'll play with my siblings, so we'll see. I'll take it. And then I bought Chronicles of Crime Noir and Chronicles of Crime Welcome to Redview. So now I've got the full Chronicles of Crime, that I was so excited for that. And then he got me the glasses as well to make like when you're looking around the scene, like then it makes it 3D. Yeah. So I scored pretty good for not having gone anywhere.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I guess let's start talking about the games we have played. So I didn't put mine in any order per se. I just did it in the order that we played.
Okay.
So
I do have an order of mine.
You played way more than I did, so
yeah,
you would have had to. All right, so tell us then, what's your number 9?
Well, first I have one little honorable mention, just because it's not a published game, but we played a prototype from Paul Saxberg, and I think I got the name right. It was called Speed Dating Robots.
It's so fun. Oh my God. He came over and Michael came over a while back and
Yeah.
we played it. Oh my god, it's good. I think it's been tweaked since, but I cannot wait for this one to get published.
Yeah, so we played with, I gotta think how many now. There was 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 of us. Michael was playing too. He's so fun to play games with. Paul too. Just great, guys. And so we played this, and so it's kind of like a riff on Apples to Apples, but a little bit different, where you have a starting character that you are trying to collect those type of cards. So was I a prom queen or something? Because you got to choose out of a couple. So, but I never ended up getting any prom queens. So then, and then you have these scenario cards, or these, they're kind of questions that you draw, and then it kind of goes around the table, and on your turn, you will put out this question because you're trying to collect the ones that you have, but you also have all these little tiny cards of like, I could have had a prom queen, but I didn't end up drawing any of them. I had lots of vampires and fairies, and then there's one that it says just for a laugh. So then I will have these questions, and so if it's my turn, say my question is, gotta think of something up here. I loved, like, this is not a great one. He has more clever ones, but like something about, I love to fly or something. I love my wings or something. Obviously that would be a fairy, right? Some are not so obvious. Some are just really funny and goofy. And then you could apply different things to them. Like there's cowboys or this and that and all kinds of things. And so then I'll put that question out there. Then everybody will flip one of their little cards over what they think matches. They put it face down. Right. Okay. And then now I got to think of how it goes.
Because when we played it, there was a question
trying to match
asked.
Me, right?
Yeah. So we would ask a question. And then everybody would put an answer based on one of the characters that they had in front of them. Right. You would flip that over, and you're trying to see which one would match your own character. Right,
and then you ask if are you a fairy? And if they are, they flip it over, and you get to put that in your point little bucket, this little heart-shaped bucket. And then so you just go around until I think all the cards are gone, or
somebody's matched all their characters or something.
Yeah,
like that. I don't remember
exactly. And then at the end, you just count out how many you've got. But some of them are so funny, like that. The matches that they make and stuff are just hilarious. Yeah. And of course, he said after, he's like, "Wow, you guys really stepped up with this one." Like it seemed like, I can't remember how he put it, but I said, "Well, does it make a difference that we all knew each other?" Because he had played it with another group that didn't know each other. And right. I think this type of game, you're going to have more fun if you know each other and can joke around and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that, right? Like if you know each other well and you'll be teasing each other more or whatever, you'll just kind of call each other out and stuff, that'd be great. Or if you're outgoing enough that you can do that with a group you don't know well. But it's hilarious. And I think, it's speed dating killer robot.
Yeah, it was
so good.
But that was just an honorable mention I had, just because it's not a published game. So I'm not sure when he's gonna get that actually published. He said he's kind of tweaking it a little bit more, but it was quite fun. So my number 9 though is a game I had been looking forward to. It was on my to buy list, and this one is called Mille Fiori by Reiner Knizia, made in 2021.
That one looks so beautiful.
Yeah, it is really cool. It's a card game, but every time you play a card, you get to put down one of these little colored clear tiles, like or I should say translucent, so that you each have your own color, and they're these little kind of diamond-shaped tiles. So depending what cards you play, you can put it in these different sections on the board. And each section has a different type of scoring, but as you place more tiles, you will score more points, and you can combo off each other, and that'll let you draw another card or place another tile. So it's just kind of like, I know it's been called Gonchon Clever, the board game, and it's very that's a very good description of it. It not the same way as the numbers, but the way that everything can like cascade off each other. And I played a 3-player game of it, It was really fun. I loved it. I don't think I'll buy it only because I don't think it will get played that much. I can't think of who would play this with me often.
Oh.
I don't know that my game group would like it. I don't know that my family would like it, which is too bad. I really liked it. But so I'm not sure. I would maybe buy this if I got it on the used market, but it was fun. It was a really cool combo-tastic game. And that's my number 9, Mille Fiori.
Nice. My number 9 actually was a couple of games I played before on the Thursday. So me and Kayla ended up playing Rolling Realms by Jamie Stegmaier, and it's a 2021 game. I bought this game 2 summers ago, and I had never played it. Oh. And I had seen it, and I had, Jamie does a lot of videos where he's playing it, and you can play along. And I think that's how this game got created. Like, he had created that as a way for people to be able to play along with his videos during COVID. And it was one that I knew I would enjoy. It's rolling right. It has the chunkiest dice you have ever seen. It's a big, huge, chunky dice. But what's really interesting is, you'll play 3 rounds. The first round, you have 3 different cards you can add kind of your stuff to. And it's where you dry erase mark right onto the card. And each card represents a different board game. So you'd have the viticulture card, or you would have the tapestry card, and you'd have a lot of his games are represented, but I think other popular games that aren't his are as well. Mm-hmm. And on the first one, you go and you do the 3, and then you kind of mark your score, and then you erase your dice roll, and then you kind of start again with a new set of 3 cards, and so on. It was neat. It was so cool. And it was kind of interesting to see how each game was loosely represented in this roll and write format. And I was oh, I see what he's doing there. Okay. And then it was a lot of fun. I was okay. Because she's oh, I haven't played that one. It's I haven't either. She's okay, let's get it off the shelf. It was and that one, I had been on there for quite a while. So it was neat to have got that one played. And that's my number 9, Rolling Realms.
Awesome. So this is the first living roll and write game, because he's just going to keep adding them as the games come. Yeah. It'll kind of be a never ending thing, because it's, every once in a while he pops out with some new packs of, and it not necessarily games he's published. Sometimes it's just some of his favorite games that he'll build a deck off of, and yeah, it's really cool. I like it too. It also has a really cool solo mode, which is a golf game you kind of go through. Oh, okay, and you have to par each hole kind of thing, or par 9 or 18 holes to get, and it's a different game each hole, a different combination of cards. It's really cool. Good one. All right. My number 8 is Magic Maze, made in 2017 by Casper Lapp. Now, I played it for the first time at your house. Yeah. It was so fun. So we played it with the 6 of us, the same 6 that played Speed Dating Robots. And oh my God, Michael is so intense with this game. He's so good at this. We would be playing that. Apparently, when you get your, I should describe the game. So it's a cooperative game where you have limited communication. You all have a direction which you can move, and you start with this one tile of a map, and you're going to build out this mall. Is it a mall you're building out? And what you're trying to do is you have different elves, and I don't know if it's fairies and dwarves and stuff, but they're just 4 different colored pawns. So pink, green, orange, and yellow, I think. They start in the middle. And what you're trying to do is get them to their store to buy their weapons, and then get them out of the mall. But you only start with one tile where they're all in the middle. So you have to build this up and get all the tiles that have the stores on them to get them to the place, and then have all the tiles that have their exact exit. So how you do that is you move the tile or the little pawns around, but only the person that has that direction can move that direction. So if I have moving west, I'm the only one who can move any of the pawns that way. And then someone will have north, someone will have an escalator because you can move up and down these little escalators. And then someone has the tile that you're the person that has to put out new tiles. So as soon as somebody gets towards an exit, you have to put out a new tile. But it has to be the color of the exit. The pawn of that color has to be there for you to put out this tile. So, but apparently this part I didn't know. Once you do get to the edge of the tile, you can have some communication. So as soon as someone would get there, Michael would be like, stop. He'd hold the timer. Okay, here's what we got to do. She's got to go there, this one over there. Okay, go. And then we'd be like, oh my gosh, okay. But he was so good, and it was so fun. I think we played 2 or 3 games of it, and our hearts were just going because we were just trying to figure it all out. And then you have these portals too, that a person is in charge of the portals. So if you get one of the pawns to a portal, they can move them from color to color, or the same color of portal. I don't think we started at level 1. We might have started at 2 or 3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, I was sweating during that game, but it was so fun. And yeah, that's my number 8, Magic Maze.
Yeah, Magic Maze is a neat one. Yeah. I know, like, when we first, because I bought it at Shoebox in Calgary. Me and my sister went, and I was like, hey, what do we want to get? And then the guy that was there was like, oh, this one's like, so in this game, you don't talk. And then both me and my sister's like, nope.
Yeah.
He's like, no, it's really good. So you don't talk. He's like, nope, we don't. He's like, what? And it's like, we talk. So it's like, sorry, like, we're French. We talk. He's like, no, but it's really good. So I was like, and he was so adamant that it was so good. I was like, all right, fine, I'll get it, and we'll see. And it is a good game. My number 8 was still with Kayla when she came over that one night. And we played Radland. Which was Radlands, published in 2021, created by Danielle Pishnik, and it's a Roxley game. And this is a 2-player battle game, and it's like, futuristic after, like you're battling to kind of protect your 3 kind of location, and everything is purchased by water, because water is very scarce, and then that's how you purchase anything. And it's really interesting because you have like your 3 camps, and then you can put people in front of it, and then whoever's in front of it like kind of protects your camp, and then you'll have event cards that becomes available, and you have to pay whatever the cost of the event card is, but on there it'll have like a level that it starts 3, 2, 1, or 0, so it's an immediate action. So let's say it's a 3, then you put it on the 3rd spot, and then every round it moves forward by 1, and then it moves forward by 1, so you can kind of see this event coming. I'm like, oh my god, you're about to destroy so much of my stuff, and you can see it come. I was like, okay, what can I do? And you're trying to protect yourself, you're trying to attack the other players, and then the first one to have all their camps destroyed loses the game, so then the other one is a winner. And it was funny because she was like doing this action and had destroyed my one character, but she hadn't destroyed the other one, and I was like, oh my god, she's not touching that guy, which is great, because then that made it that I was able to just go and destroy her last 2 camps, and then I won. And I was like,
in one move.
It was,
oh wow!
It was like because they were already damaged or whatever. But so I was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna see that. And then she's like, okay, I'm gonna destroy this guy, and I'm like, oh no, not that guy. It's like, okay, I think I just won. And she's like, are you kidding me? So, it's a neat game. Now, this is an amazing looking game if you got like the deluxe one with the neoprene mat and all that stuff. I don't have that one. I have the basic neoprene, the retail game, so there's no mat, and I could see how the mat would make things neat, but I mean, you can do without. All my tokens are wood, not cardboard tokens, but they're nice, big, chunky cardboards.
Yeah,
they're great quality, but I think the deluxe has like acrylic tokens or something. Wood, so. I've seen both copies.
Right. Acrylic. Yeah.
Yeah, and they look great. But the retail copy is still great, and then the gameplay is neat. So that was my number 8, Radlands.
Yeah, that's a good one. I really like it. And I'm not much for battle, like one-on-one games, but that one I really like. It's a good one. All right, my number 7 is Terramara, made in 2019 by a bunch of the Italians. So there's all these Italians that we call them the Italians. They make a bunch of games, and a few of them will flip around and make, a few here, and then a few of them will make this one. So I just grouped them into that because everyone will know who that is. But this is a typical Euro game. Well, I shouldn't say typical because it is quite different from what they usually make. So this one, you are, it's a worker placement, but each you have, I think 8 rounds it is. Each round will open up more spots. But you can place your workers into the future if you want. So into future spots, but then they are locked there until you get to that spot at the end of that round, then you'll get that worker back. So they are juicier, of course, as you go, like the further into the future that you go, the more stuff you're going to get. But what you're trying to do is you have a tribe, I'm going to say. You start with a person as a child, and it's a card that you have, and it gives you an ability, and you could flip it for it to be an adult. It'll have a different power, not necessarily better, but different, that might help you later on in the game. You have all these resources that you're trying to acquire to build up these cards that you're buying. And some of the cards have basic resources and some will require refined resources. So you need to have a bunch of workers to refine these resources or find a way to just get refined resources. So there's all these different spots you can go, and you can go to a spot just to get some basic resources. You can go to a spot to get some of these permanent workers that will go on your card that will refine resources each round. They can only be used once. Then there's also this track. It's a military track. But then the whole point of going up this is if you are ahead of people, you can go to spots they are on. Otherwise, you cannot go to a spot somebody is already on the worker placement spots. Another advantage of this is you can raid. So you can go to a spot that you will raid everybody. And depending where they are on this track, the lower they are, the more you can raid them. The higher up they are, the less you can raid them. And the higher up you are, the more you can raid as well. So it's quite interesting because you do move up and down this track. Because if you do choose to go on a spot where somebody is, you will move down on the track. So it's kind of a little bit of a like a payment system, but it's quite interesting because as you raid, what you'll get is resources. So if I'm on, say, a 1 to 4, I will get a resource 1 out of every 4 that they have. So if somebody's piled up like 20 resources, I'm going to get 5 of them. So you don't want to, hoard too much in case you get raided, because then you are going to be losing a bunch. And you can choose what to give them. You don't have to give them refined, but you can give them basic. But it's quite interesting. There's also another track where you are moving these like wagons down the side of the board, and you're trying to get one of them as far down as you can, because then you can put your little flag on these end game scoring chips. And then you have another wagon that you're trying to get. It just pops into these spots that give you bonuses throughout the game. It's quite interesting, and I've never seen anything like it. And it's not talked about very much. Like you don't hear about this game at all, but it was really cool. And that was my number 7, Terramara. Really
nice. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's not talked about very often, but it's quite interesting.
Neat. So my number 7 is the first game that we played at the Gobsnack event. And it was just me and Travis, so we played a 2-player game. And this is one that I purchased a few Christmases ago just because the theme I thought would appeal to my son, who's big into the army. And that's Air, Land, and Sea. And Air, Land, and Sea was published in 2019 and is created by John Perry. This has like a battle line or shot and Totten feel to it. So you have 3 locations that you are going to battle in the air, on land, and in sea. And then you'll have 9 cards in your hand and you'll be adding them. So, and then the cards in your hand have dedicated area where it can battle. So you've got tanks, so that needs to go on land, or you'll have a battleship that needs to go in the sea, and so on. And you'll be playing these cards, but a lot of them have special ability. So there's a different number associated to it, anywhere between 1 and 6. 6? Yeah, 1 and 6. And then, but there'll be abilities that they can do as well. And you're trying to win the majority of the battle out of the 3. So you're trying to win at least 2 out of the 3. And it's whoever has the most number on their side of each location would win that particular location. And then you could have one that'll say, okay, well, you got to flip a card and the other player has to flip a card. And what happens when you flip a card is on the other side, there's a value of 2 that can go in any other location. So the other side is still kind of a battle card, but it's just depending on what you had there, might be worth a lot less. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to play this one. It causes me to flip a card, so I'm going to flip this one from a 1 to a 2, so that's good for me. And then you have to flip a card, and the only one you have available to flip right now, because you had played only on the 1 location, is your 6. That's now a 2. You know, it's like, and you're playing this one. What's really interesting as well is at any time you can forfeit the game. And if you're looking at your cards like, oh shoot, there's no way I'm gonna win. So it's like, okay, I'm quitting the game. And depending on when you do that, because if you win the game and all the cards have been played, then you get 6 victory points. But if you forfeit the game earlier on and they have 3 cards, well, then they would score like 3 victory points instead of the 6 that it looks like they're going for. So if, like, and that was an interesting thing, and I wasn't doing that very often, kind of like conceding that you're not going to win and backing away from the fight before you lose, and it just makes them, yeah, fine, you win, but you only got 2 points instead of 6, so that's good.
It's hard to decide when to do that.
It really is. And then there was one that I did, I was like, okay, I've got to quit now, and he had like 4 cards, so he got 2 points. It's like, oh, darn you. It's like, and I think you play to the first player who gets 12 points win. So you don't necessarily want him to win like a full 6 point. Mind you, there was one that I was like, oh, you might as well forfeit, and that was looking so good for me, and then you ended up winning, and I'm like, oh my god. Just on the action card, he like flipped a bunch of my good big cards, and they were worth nothing then, and I was like, or you have one where it's like you can only put 3 cards in that full area on both sides. So it's like, well, I only have 1, you have 2, so that means we cannot add more cards. And here's like, oh, I can't believe you did that to me. I had such powerful cards too.
For that
like,
one,
so it's neat. And we played a couple of rounds of this one. So that's my number 7, Air, Land, and Sea.
Yeah, it's such a clever game because it's one of those games like, oh, if I got dealt like a super hand, well, that doesn't really help you because then they're just going to forfeit right away, right? Because I know I've played with John and I had like this killer hand and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to destroy him. And we got, 1 card laid or whatever. And he's like, I forfeit. I'm like, no.
It was going to be so good.
Yeah.
Now, they've redone this one too. There's a new version out that's like Critters or...
Yeah, I have that version. That's the version I have.
Yeah.
It's the little Critters one.
Which is definitely more cutesy and probably would appeal to a broader audience. Like I said, I got this army-themed one just because in my household that would fly a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good one. All right, my number 6 is a Kickstarter that I brought. I had just received 2 days before... Gobfest and learned it quickly so that we could play it. And this is Earth, made in 2023 by Maxime Tardif. Now, I brought this and we played it the first game when we got there, just because we didn't have any scheduled games and we only had a few slots on the weekend where the friends that I came with where we could all play together. So I'd said, okay, well, let's play this one because another slot we had was a Saturday night. And I thought, this is one we're going to learn. Like I had learned it, but the other one we had planned to play, we knew. Yeah. So on a Saturday night, your brain is already burnt out. So maybe it's better to play fresh, the one we need to learn, and then play the one we know on the Saturday night. We didn't end up playing that one because we were playing all kinds of other games, but we did play this. Now, I loved it. But the reason it's not closer down to the top is I don't think the others liked it or loved it.
Oh, that's too bad.
And I don't know if it was, I'm not sure why. It's totally the type of game that you would think they would like, but I'm not sure that they did. But I was so excited to play. And how it's played is it's a tableau builder, and you are building up like an ecosystem. And it's basically a card game because you have these huge decks of cards, and they have all different types of terrains, like flowers, mushrooms, all different types of things. And what you do on your turn is you have 4 actions that you can choose from. And you will choose an action, and you can choose any action. It doesn't matter who chose it last. If you even chose it your last turn, you can choose it again. And the different actions, what they'll do is one will let you build a card or 2 cards. But the nice thing about it is on your turn, whatever you do, everybody else gets to do something. So there's not really any downtime other than you get some extra stuff to do on your turn, but everybody's going to get to do stuff. So the first action is you can build 2 cards, and then everybody else can build 1. So how you're building it is you're trying to build a 4x4, so 16 cards. Now maybe it's a 4x5, but no, I'm pretty sure it's a 4x4. And you can put them anywhere you want. They do have to be at least diagonally connected. And you don't have to decide the grid until you have built out 4 wide or 4 high. And once you've built out 4 high, I mean, you can't go up or down anymore. You can still shift the middle over as long as you haven't built 4. And you can't move the cards around, but you can kind of slide them up or down depending until you've built that grid. The neat thing is at the end of each action, it'll activate certain cards. So it might activate all your green cards. It might activate your multicolor cards. And how you activate them is you go from top to bottom, left to right, and you activate them. What you're trying to do for points wise is you're trying to grow a lot of these things. So you're trying to get growth on your card, which is these little tiny wooden, they almost look like mushrooms, but you can add more layers on and make them taller, and then you'll finally put a top on because there'll be a maximum amount of growth on that card that you can have. Now, if you haven't reached the max at the end of the game, they'll be worth 1 each for how much growth you have. But if you have capped it with a top, then you'll get the max amount of points. That's not the only scoring. There's so much different scoring in here. But the other thing about the actions is you can have as many cards. Like, I don't believe there's a hand limit. There's an action that will literally just give you cards, and then everybody else will get cards. And sometimes some of the actions will give you 2 options. So you could either take cards or you could just take sprouts. So sprouts is another thing, and they're just little cubes, and some of the cards require them on there. And you can trade those in for soil. Soil is what is typically used to build your cards. So that's like the money that I would say that is used in order to do it. There's another thing is you have a pile of compost, and those are just cards that are put there. And those are all worth 1 point at the end of the game. So there's an action that you can do to compost cards. Sometimes they're from your hand and sometimes they're from your deck. You can also use, I think you can use the compost on some cards to trade them in for soil, which thematically makes sense, right? You can turn it into soil. But at the end of the game, you have this huge stack of compost. So whether you trade them in or not, you're giving up points to get more soil, to buy more cards, but you have to balance it that way. It's just, another combo-tastic game where you want to get your cards to synergize, because if you activate this, it might activate that, it might give you this, it might give you that. So you might get to do a whole bunch of things. And then there's also this whole scoring board where there's 3 objectives that everybody will score. You have 1 on your board that you will score, and you're trying to maximize all that. And I love that kind of stuff where, you're trying to get points in all different kinds of ways, trying to synergize your cards. I didn't have the greatest synergy. I don't think anybody did that first game, but you could see as you go, okay, I know maybe what I should have done or what I would do next time.
Right.
And I think we only got through maybe a quarter of the cards. So we didn't even see like, you know, the majority of the game, but it's so beautiful too, the art on the cards and just the building up your little growth with these little mushroom type like wooden stacks, and then the colors that they used to top them were so neat. It was just so pretty, and that was my number 6, Earth. Can't wait to play it again. Yeah.
My number 6 is Downforce. The guys that were over hadn't played Downforce. Really? Travis had purchased some at the Dollarama because Downforce is $5 at Dollarama. Yeah. So he had purchased it there, and he's like, I gotta decide if I want to keep it or if I want to pass this on, or Travis had played it, but Nick hadn't, something like that. So we're like, well, then let's play it. So we played my copy, which is the original retail copy. So we pulled that out, and then actually we did end up comparing it to the Dollarama one. Like the board is exactly the same. The race cards are the same. The special ability cards are different abilities in the Dollarama version. Really? So it changes it up. The cards are pretty much all the same. You can see the quality of the card is, I mean, it's similar, but it's a little bit less quality in the Dollarama version, and the cards are slightly smaller. But otherwise, the production of this game is unreal. For $5. But so we ended up playing my copy, and I mean, this game is so cool. So first, you bid on the cars that you're going to own. And you keep track of how much you paid for those cars as well. So, and the way that you bid is you'll take a card that's in your hand and you kind of put it face down and everybody reveals it at the same time. And whatever number is associated to the color that of the card that everybody's bidding on at that time, then that's how much you're bidding. And then whoever has the highest bid would get the car. And if it's a tie, then whoever tied gets to put another card down, and then you reveal that. And you could reveal a card that has no numbers associated with that color just to be like, I'm not bidding on this one, I'm passing. And then so you end up with the cars that way. Then they're randomly put into the position, and you take turn playing these cards. And the cards have different lines with different colors, different numbers, and then that's the movement of the cars. So you could be like, hey, I'm going to play this one, so yellow goes first for 5, and then orange will move for this much, and then green, and then black. And then you move all the cars by that many spaces as it's on the card. But what gets really interesting is you get into these corners, and then all of a sudden you have the blue car stopped in a one line, and he's blocking everybody. Nobody can get by. So you have to make sure you move the blue car so that you can get the other cars through. But blue car is not your car, so you don't necessarily want them to win, and so on. And it's just interesting decision and kind of manipulating the cars. And then at one point you'll pass a little yellow line, and that's like a bidding location. So everybody bids on which card they think will win. And then you kind of put a little check mark next to it. And then you get another bidding location and be like, okay, there we vote again. And there's 3 of those. And then when you get to the end of the game, then the cars go and they park in their finishing spot. So whoever got first place will get the money prize for first place if you own that car, and second and third and fourth and so on. So the prize money gets quite a bit lower, but you make quite a bit more if you're in the top 3 kind of thing, right? And then so you gain that money from the finish of your car. But then if the car you bid on said, well, I think red will win, and if in the first bidding section, and if red won or is in the top 3 position, then you would get a money value for having bid correctly or close to correctly. And then you would gain those points for all the 3 bidding points that you did. So of course, if you bid correctly on the first segment, that's worth a lot more than if you bid correctly at the very last bidding opportunity location. But then you tally all of that up. So you tally all of your prize money and then your bidding money, and then you take out whatever it is that you paid for your cars, and then whoever has the most money is the winner. And it's so neat, and it went over well. So it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is good. And like Travis said, he's been buying these ones at Dollarama and giving them to his coworkers, like, oh, you have, kids, kind of like preteen kids, I think they'll like this, you guys should play that as a family. He says, and everybody he's giving it to has come back to him, is like, okay, what else do you have for games?
Oh,
like,
awesome.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this is amazing, so what else can you show us?
Perfect.
But yeah, so that's my number 6, Downforce.
Yeah, maybe it's just worth it for me to buy the Rama one for the extra special or extra abilities.
Yeah, I haven't kind of read through all of them, but they just had like different.
They're
But for
different, hey?
$5, why
Yeah.
not, right? And I
I know,
forgot to say
'cause I
that one
have
was
the main
published in
game, but
2017, and it's created by Rob Davio, Justin D.
Right.
Jacobson, and Wolfgang Kramer.
Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, maybe I'll do that because I have the base one. But... All right. Okay, my number 5 is another one of mine I've talked about. I've played it once. It was a Kickstarter that I had, and I brought it to teach a couple of friends. And that's Hamburg, made in 2022 by Stefan Feld. I have a friend that he met us there, and we didn't have scheduled games, so he kind of made his own schedule. He's like, okay, so we all have this time slot, so who wants to play this and this? And we kind of threw out games or whatever, so he kind of made it a little side schedule. So we played Hamburg, and it was a 4-player game, and I liked it even more than I played it the first time.
Oh, nice.
Because the first time I had played it was just with one other person, and it was good, but it was kind of like a learning game. We were just trying to figure it all out.
Right.
And so this time I kind of really knew what I was doing. Nobody else did. Well, no, actually it was me and Ashley, and she played it in this 4-player game as well. But she had to leave because she was teaching, so she only got to play a quarter of it. So then it was just the 3 of us left. But it was awesome. It's just another Feld game that I love. But this one is more of a card game. And geez, I'm really loving the card games lately. The card board games. Because it's a board game, but it's mostly with cards where you are drawing a hand of cards and they all have different colors. And they're buildings, basically, but they could be animals, parks, or typically buildings. And how you play them is if you want to build a building, you have to have a foundation first. So you have to spend a card to build a foundation, and you have to spend that color of worker. So there's also workers, but they're not used as often as in typical games. It's mostly cards and money. So there's a bunch of dice that are rolled, different colors, and once they are rolled, those are the action points kind of that you can use when you're using the dice. So if I just need money and there's a pink 6, I can play a pink card and just get $6. And like I said, if I need to build a foundation, I have to spend a worker and that card, and I will flip it over. And the significance of the colors of the foundations could be a type of scoring from another building that you have. So all these buildings could be an immediate effect, could be an end game scoring, could be an ongoing bonus. So it's just another game that kind of combos off what you're building, but there's other aspects of the game because you have these disasters that could happen. You could have floods, fires, all kinds of things. And how those come into effect is you have a black dice that you roll every round, and whatever number that rolls, however that one decides this little clerk, I think it's called, and he will go on this track, and that can decide point scoring at the end. But whatever numbers are 5 and 6 rolled, those colors of disaster will slide over, and you have 3 slides that you can make. If you ever get to the completely slide one color over, that disaster will happen, and you will lose something very valuable. You'll either lose all your workers, all your money, a building, foundation. You could lose a chunk of a wall. I haven't even talked about that because you build up this wall as well. So you can take an action to slide some of them back so that you're not gonna, have the complete disaster. So there's all kinds of things going on. You're trying to build animals that basically just give you points. But then at the end of the round, you do a majority all the time. So whoever has the most buildings gets to flip this token, whoever has the most wall pieces built. And once you've flipped your majority, you don't ever have to flip it back. So you just want to try to get all these majorities once. There's so much going on, but it still is at the heart of it a card game, and I just love it. And it's another hit for me from Stefan Feld, and that's Hamburg, my number 5.
Nice. So my number 5 that we ended up playing is such a good game, and that's BloodRage, created in 2015 by Eric M. Lang. And me and Travis ended up teaching Nick how to play, and turns out we are amazing teachers. and Nick almost
Did he
last
win?
up. He almost lapped up in the price, like in the points. He was so far ahead, it was ridiculous. He had so much rage. He could do like me and Travis, like, hey, well, that's all I got the rage for. And he's like, well, I keep going and going and going. It's like, what the heck? And this is so neat. So this is Viking theme. Everybody plays as a different clan, and Ragnarok, the end of the world, is upon us, and you're kind of battling and taking over certain provinces, and then that'll give you kind of different points. But if you kind of are in each province, like there'll be randomly selected province that'll get destroyed each round. And if you have any people there that get destroyed through this Ragnarok and then they be sent to Valhalla, well, then you get glory for that. And it's all about the glory, right? If you enter into battle and you win, then you get glory for that. And the glory is all the points. And you'll have like these different quest cards. So like it's card drafting where you pick the cards you're going to have, and then you're playing, and then be like, hey, and then you can upgrade some of the stuff. So you can have one that's like, hey, well, I gain this much point if my guys are sent to Valhalla. And I had one where it's like, okay, well, so for every people that I have on the board that dies through this Ragnarok destroying the province, I double the score of the glory that I would get for that. Well, so I had that card, and I kept trying to send my people to that location that's about to get destroyed, and somebody would go there and enter into battle, and all my guys would die through battle instead of the one that gave me points. So they're all in Valhalla, and then it gave me no points at all. Travis had the card that anybody in Valhalla that died that way, that give him victory points. But I don't know what Nick was doing, but it was working. Like he had, I don't know, almost 100 points more than we did. Like it was just ridiculous. I mean, if you took pictures of the final score, it looks like he lost by a little bit, but because it doesn't show that he had gone all the way around. But yeah. It's such a good game. I love this one. And that's my number 5, BloodRage.
All right. My number 4 is Turring Machine, made in 2022 by Fabian Goodell and Johan Levete. Now, this I've talked about before and played it quite a few times now. But the real joy of this was I got to play with Kavre. So they
fun.
are a couple... Yeah, on YouTube that reviews games. And they live in Edmonton, which is where the convention was. I didn't know they were going. So when I saw them, I was like, oh my gosh, they're here. So I went over and chatted with them, and they're like, oh yeah, we should play a game. They're so nice. And so I had said, I had to run out to a vehicle. I think I was selling a game and somebody was meeting me out there. I said, oh, well, just choose anything. I'm good for anything, like something fun. So first of all, they picked Welcome To. So we had a game of Welcome To, and I had a friend there that was meeting me to trade a bunch of mystery puzzle games, but she was coming in to play for a bit. So I said, well, is it okay if someone else plays? And they're like, oh yeah, for sure. So and I said to her, it's kind of puzzly because she's really, and she does play Euro games and all kinds of things too. But so we played it and she loved it as well. And I love Welcome To. It's a fun one. But we also played Turing Machine after. They had played it before, but I was specifically teaching her that because she really wanted to learn this one. And how Turing Machine works is you have this computer like on the table, basically, but it's just paper. And it's just like, I call it a computer, but all it is like a generator of answers. And you have A, B, C, D, E, I think, depending on player count, you might have F, but we only had 4 of us. And so you set up these different cards because there's like all kinds of scenarios, and you all will choose a 3-digit number, and it can go up to, I think it can only go up to 5 or 6, but you have 3 different colors: purple, orange, and blue, I believe. And you can choose all the same numbers. You can choose all different numbers, but whatever you choose, then you each can take up to 3 turns in the first round. And you will just ask this computer questions. And how you do it is you take a card from whichever one, A to E or F, or however many people you're playing. And you'll take that card and you'll put it behind your stack of numbers. So if I had a 1 blue, a 3 yellow, and a 5 purple, those would all be together. And I'll stick this card behind it and line up the circle and triangle that's on the outside. And I will either get a check mark or an X. And what that means is whatever computer leg I'm asking the question, it'll refer to what my numbers are. So it might say, is orange larger than blue and purple? And if I had, or I guess what I said, I had a 5 purple. So I would basically be asking, is 5 greater than orange and purple? And so if it has an X in it, well then no, I know that it's not. So I know a piece of information. And all the other questions could have completely different things. It could just say, are the blue or all, is there more odd numbers in this code than even? And if I had a 1 and a 3, that would be what my question was asking. And if it's an X, then no. So I already know that there's more even. So I can cross out, I might have been able to deduce some of the numbers that are not there. So it is basically a deduction game, but it's so clever how they made it. I can't even understand to like figure out how it was made, but it's so clever. And we had so much fun because then as you go on the rounds, after the first round, you all put your hands in the table and you either flip up a thumb or down if you have the answer, if you don't. Most times in the first round, you don't have the answer. So then you go on to the second round. You can choose different numbers from what you deduced to ask the computer different questions, but the computer stays the same. And then you may choose this round to not ask 3 questions because you're close to guessing the whole number. And if at the end of the round you put your thumb up and say somebody else does, and say you both got the number, but that other person asked 3 questions and you only asked 2, well, you will win. And if you happen to look at the code and you were wrong, you're out of the game, and then people just keep playing. So we got to, I think it was round 3, and we all thought we had the answer, and I think 3 of us did, but my friend Brittany, she only asked 1 question. I had asked 2, and I think Ilya asked 3. I can't remember how it went down, but so we had most of us had got it, and it's such a fun game. And it's one of those games, like I told Brittany, I'm like, you're either going to love this game or you're going to hate it. Because even people who like deduction games, some of them hate this game.
Oh, really?
It's such a different type of deduction, and you really have to like numbers. If you don't like numbers, this is not the game for you. But because I know Mike DeLisio on the Dice Tower, he likes deduction games, but he absolutely hates this game. And he doesn't hate that it's a terrible game. He knows it's a good game, but he's like, it's just not for me. So it's one of those games, and it's very hard to describe. I probably have done a terrible job of describing it, but you should all check it out if you are at all interested in deduction games.
Yeah, I'll have to try that one sometime.
Yes, you definitely have to. And that's my number 4, Turring Machine.
Nice. My number 4, we started going through some little games. And that one was For Sale. So For Sale was created in 1997 by Stefan Dora. And this was such a neat game. Nick hadn't played it before, so I was like, oh, well, you got to play this one. So let's bring it out. And For Sale it plays in 2 rounds. So the first round is you have some money tokens in front of you, and you keep those kind of hidden behind your hand. And then you flip up a card. And the first set of cards are property cards, and they could go anywhere from a value of 1, which is a cardboard box, to a value of 30, which is a space station. And there's all sorts in between. There'll be like a cabin, you'll see an igloo, like just all different kind of properties. And then so you'll flip 1 over, and then is it 1 or you flip 3 over? I just played this last weekend, so
Oh, I can't remember now.
Because I know with the second round, there's 3. It's possible that you flip 3 over. So you flip 3 over, let's say. Well, depending on the number of players.
I think it's
yeah. So we're 3 players,
yeah.
and we flip 3 over, and then you'd be like, okay, well, I bid 1, And then the next person would have to outbid that. I was like, well, I'll bid 2. And it's in thousands. I'll bid 2,000. And I'll bid 3,000. I was like, this is getting a little expensive. Okay, fine, I'll bid 4,000. And then the next person bids 5,000. So then the person after that's like, well, I'm not going to 6. That's a lot of money, and these aren't so bad. So he gets to take half of his bids back. The other ones are discarded, and then he takes the lowest valued house. And then, like, oh, well, since you do that, I'll take half my money back, discard the rest, and then I'll take the second highest valued house, and then whoever's left pays the whole bid. That goes away, and then they take the highest valued house. And you do that until all the houses have been distributed. And then if you have any money at the end, that's good. It's going to count towards your points. But it could be that you've used it all up, and then on your turn, you just have to take the lowest property every time because you don't have any money to bid.
Yeah.
So that's how that section goes. Then afterwards, you have the second batch of cards, and these ones are the buyers. And the buyers have different price they're willing to pay. And then you'll flip 3 of those over, and it could be like it's a 2,000, 3,000, and there's a 5,000, let's say. And be like, okay. And then you have all of the properties you've purchased in your hand, and you'd be like, well, I'll put my number 3 house. Or, whatever valued house, and you put it face down, and everybody reveals. And whoever has the highest valued house in the hand will take the highest buyer, and whoever has the lowest takes the lowest buyer, and so on. And you do that. So sometimes it'd be like, okay, well, there's a 10,000, a 10,000, and 11,000. Okay, well, I'm going to put my house number 1, because if you can get 10,000 for a cardboard box, that's pretty good. So you play that, I'll take the 10,000, and then you do that until you've sold all of your properties, and then whoever has the most money at the end wins the game. But it is such a neat, clever game. It is so satisfying to play. So we played a few rounds of that, and that's my number 4 for sale.
Yeah, I don't get to play this enough. I really like it too. Good one. All right, my number 3 is The Crew, Mission Deep Sea, made in 2021 by Thomas Singh. Now, this one we got to play with Michael and Paul again. And those two, in my opinion, are the trick-taker game.
100%.
They are good at trick-taking. So we played a 5-player game of this, and I think we played 9 or 10 games of it, because some of them can be very quick. So what you're doing in this game is it's a trick-taking, cooperative trick-taking game, which you would think, what? That doesn't make any sense, but with the right people, it is so fun. And I've told these guys, I'm like, you're my trick-taking game guys that I will always love to play with, because they are so good at it. And it's just so much fun to play with them in trick-taking. They get so animated with it that it's so fun. But what you do is you have a different mission each game. So you deal out all the cards, and then whoever has the 4 rocket, which is like the suit, is the commander, and they will decide if they want to do the mission or they will pass it on. So the missions could be like something simple, like you have to have taken a trick with the 7 green, right? Could be something simple like that. But as you go, they get a lot harder. It might have something, there might be more than one. There could be 2 or 3. And one could say, like, you literally cannot win any tricks, or you cannot win any pink cards. So how you do this is you do have one sort of communication you can do, and it is this little token. And you could place a card down, like out of your hand. So if, say I took the mission where I am going to win the 7 pink. Say I have the 7 pink. I could put the 7 down, and I can take this disc and put it on top of it, which would say this is my highest pink. I could put it on the bottom saying this is my lowest pink, or I could put it on the middle saying this is my only pink. So you have to make that decision if you're going to try to accomplish the mission, or if you're going to pass it off. As the commander, you can also say, okay, we're going to trade a card each, so we're going to pass to the left. I can't remember if you can decide if you trade more than 1 card, possibly, but so they get to choose that as well. Now, you basically play the game until the mission is accomplished, and then that ends the round. You might not even play out the whole hand. As long as you've accomplished the mission, then you're good, and you move on to the next one. It's just so fun. Ashley gets so nervous with trick-taking games. She's like, I don't want to look stupid. I'm like, we all make stupid choices sometimes. Like, there was a time when I totally screwed it, but we ended up winning somehow still. And, I mean, I'm not the smartest trick-taker player. I do well, but I make mistakes. And we just all made it work. I think we only lost one scenario and then we replayed it and I believe we won it.
Nice.
So fun. I could play that game all night. I would love to go. There's 50 missions. I have the first version, which is the crew, the quest for Planet 9.
Mm-hmm.
This one we played at the convention was the second one.
Yeah.
I would like to get the second one, but I told myself I'm not buying it until this one is actually played through. So I don't know. Maybe they'll play it now because I had tried to get Cherry to play it as a 2-player. Not the best 2-player game because you do use an AI with it as well, but I really want to play it again and it's so fun. And that's my number 3, the crew.
Nice. I own the original one and I've played it at Malcon a few years back when Malcon was at my house. And it was like the first game of the day that we were playing, and then we're playing it. I was like, okay, so we need to get this one. Perfect. I've got the perfect card to get that to happen. And then all of a sudden, like, everybody played cards like, what's going on? You guys should have been able to play the cards you needed for this. And then all of a sudden, oh yeah, sorry, my bad. I have that card. It's like,
well, yeah, because you sometimes like totally screw up and you're like, oh, whatever.
This happened again and again and again, and we lost so fast. I was like, okay, I don't. It was funny. My number 3 is another little game that we ended up playing, and that's Sherlock 13. And this is created in 2013 by Hope S. Wong. And we ended up playing it the first round, and I was like, this is a neat deduction game. So you have your little kind of shield that you put your piece of paper behind, and you have, depending on the player, 3 or 4 cards, and you kind of marked what you have, and every card has symbols on the bottom. And on your turn, you can ask, who has a pipe? Or I could go specifically, Travis, how many pipes do you have? Or you can make a guess at who you think the murderer is and the card that's face down in the middle. So you're kind of going around until you think you can guess, and then you take the guess and then be like, look up. Okay, oh, I was right. I win. I was like, oh, geez, I was wrong. That's not the winner. And then you kind of keep going. And so we played the first round of it. And they were like so quiet because it's like serious game and they're quiet and then they're taking their notes and then the game is over. And I was like, okay, well, what do you guys want to play next? And they're like, oh, we're playing this again. It's like, oh, okay. So we played a second round of it, and it's just such a neat, satisfying game. I just love it. And that's my number 3, Sherlock 13.
Yes, I have to pick this one up. I just wrote it in my to-buy, which...
Well, I'm coming over. Was it next week? So maybe I'll bring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should. Because it's a deduction. Like,
yeah.
You need to deduce, and I'm really into those lately. Awesome. All right. My number 2 is a game I got to play in a tournament.
Nice.
And this is my first tournament that I played in. And that's Fantasy Realms, made in 2017 by Bruce Glasgow. I love this game. My game group doesn't like this game. I shouldn't say
that's
everyone.
Like the story
I know Cherry
of your
doesn't
life.
love it. Yeah. Well, no, it isn't. They love a lot of the games, but I mean, I have so many games, they're not going to love them all, right? And so, but I still love them and I want to play them. So I got my fix in here and it was awesome. This is such a simple concept game as well. Like, it's just a card game, not a board game. And you start with a hand of cards and you are trying to get the best combo hand possible. Mm-hmm. It's fantasy themed, but you are trying to get the most points, obviously. And some cards will give other cards points. Some will destroy other cards. Some will like cancel them out. Some will multiply other cards. And that's really all it is. But it's so neat because how you play it is, if you're playing higher than a 2-player count, you start with 7 cards. And then on your turn, you will draw a card. And then discard a card. Now you can draw from the deck or you can draw from the open table. When the game starts, there's none on the table. But once there is 10 cards placed on the table, the game is over. So it could be over in 10 rounds, technically. But it usually doesn't happen that way because people will take cards from the table. So then that doesn't add to the table because you're taking one and putting one back. So you might have 5 cards on the table for a while as people are taking them off. But it's so cool because as you're playing cards down, you're like, oh, I really hope this doesn't combo with theirs, And the first game, I got to play 5 games in the whole tournament because there was only 5 of us. So we played like a 3-player and a 2-player, and then the winners played off. And then I did win my second game, but then we just ended up having a third game of all of us, and then the winners of that played off. And it was so interesting because there's 2 people there who never played it. It's not really a game where, it's that if you've played it lots, you have an advantage other than some of the cards. Yeah, but
it depends what
if you're a gamer and you pick up the cards, you know what combos with what, right? So, you might not know what could be coming up, but... So the 2 people who had never played were the 2 that were in the finals. They had amazing hands and they scored like just ridiculous points. We're like, what was your score? It was so cool. But it was just awesome that I got to play 5 games of it. I was so happy. And it's such a cool little game. And this is the game that Jamie Stegmaier had based...
Red Rising.
Oh, no, what's the... Red Rising off of. And he claims it right off. He said, I love this game. I took the mechanic from it and used it in my game. And I think he even has a deck in Rolling Realms of fantasy
possible,
realms,
right?
I believe. Or he's making one or something. But yeah. But it's such a cool game. And I love it. And that's my number 2, Fantasy Realms.
That is such a neat game. Because I played Red Rising first. And that whole aspect was so interesting. You're kind of trying to manipulate to what you keep in your hand to be worth the most. And then I got Fantasy Realm and played it. And then that, like, you're trading and it's like, oh no, if I discard this, if I draw from like
all those other things,
it's going to trigger the end. I'm not ready for that. But like, I know I don't need like, it was interesting. I really like that one. All right. My number 2 is No Thanks, and that one is published in 2004 by Thornton Gimler, and this is such a neat game. Like it's, and the version I have, like you can get the small travel version. My version is a little bit bigger, so you have the tarot size cards, and then you have these black tokens, and they're like almost rounded tokens, and it's really interesting. So everybody starts with the same number of tokens. It's another one that you kind of keep behind your hand, kind of hide how many tokens you have, and then you will shuffle the cards. 9 are randomly taken out, and they go anywhere from 3 to 35 or something like that. And you flip a card over, and then you have a number on it, and on your turn you either take the card or you add a black token on it to pass, and you keep going. Now the number of tokens keep adding up, so let's say it's a 33. That's a high valued card, and be like, I don't know if I want it yet. I see you pulled out your copy.
This is the old version.
Yeah,
these are like the bingo chips.
The bingo chips one.
And these cards are so tiny. I did end up getting the better version, so I have this on my to sell show.
It's such a satisfying game to play, though. And then, so you're going around, and you'll end up getting cards. Now, if you have a 33, and then there's a 32, and you collect the 32, because you're creating a run, you only score the lowest one of that round. So, great. So now it's not worth 32. It's worth 33 points. It's only worth 32 points. And then if you end up collecting 31, well, now it's worth 31 points. So it's worthwhile trying to create the runs. But 9 cards have been pulled out, so you don't know if you're going to be able to. So if a 30 comes along and you haven't picked up a 31 yet, be like, okay, well, do I want to take the 30 and hope the 31 comes along? Because right now it'd be 30 points plus 32, so I'm at 62 points. That's a lot of points. Or, like, maybe 31 comes along and then I'll end up everything is only worth 30. It's like, what do you do? Like, so there's these interesting decisions. And sometimes it's like, okay, great, 31 come out, so I'm going to pick it up. And then somebody's like, I'm going to take 31. It's like, what? It's like, I know it's going to count for 31 points for me, but then you can't combine your cards. It's like, oh my God. So it is such a neat game, and we played a few rounds of that. So that's my number 2, No Thanks.
I love this too. This was always our camping game I would take with the kids. This old version. And then I found that newer version at a thrift store.
Nice.
And it was like unopened. Like it was, the shrink was off, but when I opened the box, the cards were still in their wrap.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah.
Like, you guys, you had such an amazing game and you just give it up.
I know. And I just realized that. Me and you share a love of these very simple card games. I think everyone we talk about, we both love them.
Yeah.
And that's where I can't find a lot of people that do or appreciate how like clever they are, and they're just so simple. But you and I do share that.
But we also come from families of card players too, right?
True.
So I wonder if that's why.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking to some friends, they're like, oh, we didn't play games as a kid. I'm like, what?
You poor
What did you do?
stolen childhood.
Yeah. What kind of life is that?
It's horrific.
Yeah, terrible. Anyway, my number one is My Father's Work, made in 2022 by T.C. Petty III. It says T.C. Petty 3, so I think it means the third.
Oh, okay, right.
Is what I'm going to say. But this game, I had been looking forward to playing this. I signed up to play this, so we got taught this by someone who already knew how to play. It was his copy, and we played a 3-player game of this, and I loved it. This isn't my typical type of game. This is a game, I would describe it as Destinies, but with also more worker placement.
Oh, okay.
You're going to love this game. You are going to absolutely love this game. So what you're doing is you have, it's like a heritage of your father had this big plan of some sort of building some sort of either machine, or like I had to build a time machine. Ashley was building a werewolf. I can't remember what the teacher Steve was playing or trying to build. But anyway, that's your like final thing that you're really trying to build. But in order to build that, you have to build all these other experiments. And how you do that is you get a hand of cards. You'll get an A, a B, and a C experiment. And in order to build a B experiment, you have to have an A. In order to build a C experiment, you have to have 2 Bs. In order to build your big one, like to build my time machine, I had to have 3 Cs, 2 Bs, and 1 A. So you have to have all those built. But it's neat because you play in generations, and you have 3 rounds each generation, and you get older as the round goes on, and then your next generation, you're playing as your child.
Oh, fun.
So you
that's
are different. And then you have to give up almost everything from generation to generation. You can only keep one completed experiment. So then you're like, well, how am I ever going to be able to build this big time machine? Because there's only 3 generations. But there's ways to be able to keep other experiments or to have to build them easier or whatnot. But it's so neat. You have this, each scenario has a different map that you use. And so those are the worker placement spots. And you have your worker, or you're the scientist. Then you have a spouse. You have a caretaker. And then you have some, what are they called? Assistants that you can hire that are in town. You have another caretaker that you can also hire. And it's so neat because as you get more people, you can do more things, but some of them can't go to all the spaces. Like to fulfill an experiment, only you and your assistant can do that, I believe. And your spouse cannot do that. They cannot actually add knowledge, which is moving up these little tracks on your board to gain knowledge, which gives you more things and more abilities. Your spouse can go into town. They love to spend money or do things in there. But then you have these little tracks. You have this one track, it's called a creep track. And some of the experiments that you perform are quite creepy. So if you do some really creepy ones, you move up on this creep track. And if you get too creepy, the townsfolk will mob you and you are not allowed to go into town. You can only go to church to remove your creepiness. So, and then there's another track of insanity, and some of these experiments are just like crazy. And so if you do some that are really bad, you will move up on this insanity track, and then you'll start to lose your staff or your spouse even, and you might have no one to help you do things. So some of these experiences are like, they'll give you so much stuff, but they'll make you insane, or they'll make you, creepy, and it's just so funny. And then it's app based as well, so you're reading all these different things that'll pop up, like all of a sudden something will pop up out of your diary that you have to read, and then you'll have to make this choice, and you might all have to vote for to either kill the butcher or kill the blacksmith because they're like hexed or something. And oh my gosh, it was just insane. It was so good that it's crossed like RPG with Euro. And I feel like it's the first one that's, for me, successfully done it with the theme.
Wow, that sounds super interesting.
But I think you're going to love it. Because we're going to play that next week,
Yay!
I think, when you come. And yeah, it's so good. You guys have to check it out. Such a cool game. My father's work, number one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that one. So my number one, this was the last game we played. By then, Travis had to leave, so it was me and Nick. And he's like, well, and it sounds like he likes the Pandemic, and he has most of them. He's like, but I haven't tried Pandemic Cthulhu. So I have Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, which was published in 2016 by Matt Leacock and Chuck Yeager. So we ended up playing it. And this one is a neat version. So you have the map, and the map is 4 different cities and different location on these different cities. And you know how you have the cards that have like a location on it? Well, the cards that you collect are one of these 4 cities. So, and you just need to be in that one town in order to be able to trade cards or get those ones. And you need to have 5 of the cards for each town, or of one town, in order to seal these gates. And that's your goal. You're trying to seal these 4 gates to win the game. And you have cultists that get spread around. So you flip first 3 cards, they each get 3 cultists. And then you flip the next 3 and they each get 2 cultists. And then the last 3 get 1 cultist. And then you flip one more card, and that one gets like, and I forget what he's called, but some sort of demon guy. But if you ever get more cultists on a location that already has 3 cultists, then those cultists go away and they've successfully summoned one of these demon things. And then on the cards that you flip, the location cards, some of them will have his symbol on it. And if there's a symbol on it, then this demon things moves 1 space closer to the gate. And if they ever reach the gate and then that symbol comes up again, well, they go away. But while they were at the gate, they were able to bring in this old one. And you got like 10 bigger monsters at the top, and then you reveal one. And every time one gets revealed, bad things happen. And it gets worse and worse. And then if you ever reveal Cthulhu, the final 10th one, you lose the game. If you ever have to put cultist on the board and you don't have any cultists left, you lose the game. If you ever need to put another demon, because there's only 3 in the game, and you have to put a 4th demon, but they're all on the board, you lose the game. And this game, every time I've played it, has been really quick. And I want to say like 15 to 20 minutes, super quick, just because we lost that quickly. And when we played that weekend, it was no exception. We're doing, and then it's like, okay, I think we're doing decent. But then we had 3 of the bad guys on the board of the demons, and then the 4th one ended up having to come out, but there's no 4th one. You just lose the game. I'm like, oh no. It's like, because you get those pandemic cards, and these ones are, I don't know what they're called, but it's like a bad event card. And we ended up getting 2 almost back to back. So we lost almost immediately. So it's like, oh no, okay, well, okay. And then this is such a neat game to play. But like every time I've played it, we lost super quick. So, but I still like the whole mechanism and the feel and the theme, and like the whole thing works so well. But that's my number one, Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu.
Awesome. And so that you just played a 2-player game?
Yeah, we played a 2-player game. Maybe if we have more players, we'd be more successful. I don't know. It was just us. We didn't seal any gates. We just died almost right away. So, and then in this game, you can go insane. So depending on what's happening, like if you come across one of these demons, you can kind of get rid of him, but you have to do a sanity roll because he's so horrific that it could cause you to go insane. You can, until they're sealed, you can use the portal to travel across from town to town, but then that causes you to do a sanity roll. And then if you go insane, you flip your character card over and you can't do as much. You can become sane again, but if all the characters ever go insane at the same time, that's another way you lose the game. So it's like there's a lot of ways to lose the game and only one way to win. But it was neat.
Awesome.
Perfect. So that was all the games we played at Gobfest and Gobsnack, and it was an amazing weekend for both of us. Now, next week, we're going to be, for episode 63, going through our favorite things in board game rule books. And I've been taking a bunch of pictures of these different rule books and stuff that I just like in a rule book. So I'm excited for that one. Now, before we call it quits, Carla, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Board Game Specialist, all one word, and I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
Now, we also have a Discord channel, so be sure to join us there. It's interesting to have like the conversation about the board games and all the stuff that comes up on there. I am on Instagram as Mel's_boardgame_room. My YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room, and I post all of our podcasts on there as well. And then I also have my Facebook page, which is Mel's Board Game Room. So that's it for this week. Be sure to tune in next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.